they're small. Hey, but be careful because te chingan. They don't, no te chingan de un chingazo. Little by little, they start chipping away, bro. And they take away, little by little, te quitan la cultura.
Hey, Too Hard, Too Fast podcast, where we try to broaden perspectives through people's stories, but usually we just end up going off the rails. Today's episode, we have a hometown bar. And I say hometown bar because obviously I'm from San Antonio. This bar is in San Antonio. It's called Jaime's Place. And it's based in the heart of San Antonio. El Hueso. West side of San Antonio. Ya tú sabes, para mi gente de San Antonio. Puro pinche West side.
What's up, Georgie?
What's up, man? We have none other than Jaime from Jaime's Place. Pretty new bar. It's been around what, Jaime? A year, 2 years?
Well, a year and a few months. We opened up October 9th of 2020, smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. Yeah, that's, we're call it crazy, but yeah, that's what happened.
Dude, in the middle of the pandemic. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what it took for you to open it, especially through that pandemic where nobody was going out. Yeah. I'm going to tell you my story, my experience visiting your bar, and we'll see what kind of things we get into. But sit back, buckle up, let's go. Too hard, too fast. Boom. Hey, put that pinche seatbelt on.
Come on now.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Hola, mi gente. Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast. Cause, dude, I'm too hard, too fast, 24-7, dog. You know, I am.
West Side, Colorado, and Commerce, el heartbeat of San Antonio, baby.
The podcast of the century.
All right, Jaime, first of all, are you from San Antonio?
Born and raised. I was born March 4th, 1965. Seems like a long time. It seems like a long time ago, but my jefita is 95 years old, right? And she's as sharp as a tack. And I asked her, I go, mis papás son de México, son de Monterrey. Y le pregunto a mamá, I said, Mami, se pasaron pronto los años. Did the years go by fast? And she looks at me and she goes, pronto. So if 95 years have whizzed by, 1965, my mom was born in 1926. Can you believe that? 1926. And she says that her life has zoomed by. So, I mean, what hope do we have, brother? I mean, Shingao, life flies by, man. You best make the best of it.
Oh, man, I believe that, man. Like I said, well, I didn't say it, but I was thinking, dude, I really feel like I was thinking about it today. I was, Tom Brady, well, at the time of this recording, Tom Brady retires. Yeah. And I don't know if you're a football fan. I don't like talking sports on this podcast, but
especially if it's not about the Cowboys.
It's not about the Cowboys. Well, that's a lot of sad times. I grew up a Cowboys fan, and it hurts.
It does hurt.
Yeah, but I was, how they do it, like on the TV, all they do is talk about Tom Brady and his career, and so different highlights that passed by, and I was like, oh man, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It felt like it was just yesterday.
I'm telling you, brother. I'm telling you, Jorge. I mean, you might as well. It's like I've got 4 kids, right? From 30 to 25 years old. And I tell them, if you're going to fail fast, man. Right now that you have very little responsibilities, fail as often and as much as needed so you can get all that education out from under you, right? Get it, learn from your mistakes. If you don't make a mistake, it's because you ain't doing a damn thing, bro.
Yeah,
you cannot go through life without making mistakes. And if you do, I will be the first to tell you that you're living a very boring life.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Boring life, not taking risks, just following the current. Yeah, you have to make mistakes. You have to fail. You have to figure out what it is. But I think
What works and what doesn't.
I feel like the only way you fail or feel like you're failing is when you're giving up too. You know? I don't That's just my take on it. That's how I've always felt like, if I make mistakes, I don't feel like I'm failing, but once I feel like I'm failing is when I'm giving up on something.
You know, when you lose, when you miss out on a deal, it hurts, man. It hurts. And depending on how good that deal could have been or would have been, that determines how hard it hurts, and how long it lasts. And so, yeah, man, I mean, it hurts, and sometimes you never get over it, and you just learn from it, but I mean, if you fail enough times, you learn how to get up and dust yourself off, and hey, I'd rather fail and than to never have tried.
Yeah, I think that I guess where we're seeing is two different definitions of failing. I'm more thinking failing is like done. Like, let's say this podcast, it's growing. I'm trying to do my best with it. I'm constantly learning with it. But the only way I feel I failed this podcast is if I didn't try on it and if I gave up and put it aside. For you, I'm kind of saying or feeling the way you're saying is like you need to fail to keep moving forward.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, I mean, let's take, for example, your podcast. If after a while you put it to the side, doesn't mean you failed. Just means that, it lived out its course. It played out, it played the course, and yeah, put it aside and you keep moving. And then maybe your next podcast is Pa Delante or something like that, right? I mean, failing, I guess everybody's got a definition of their own definition of failure, but to me, failure is never trying.
Never trying. And I would agree with that for sure.
Being afraid of failing is failing, I use this analogy with my kids all the time. I played a lot of sports. And my favorite sport was baseball. And you have the batter, right, inside the batter's box. And then the guy that's on deck he's on the on deck circle, right? He's next to bat and he's swinging the bat, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you forever, Jorge, stay in the on deck circle, like say the batter strikes out or gets a hit and it's your turn to go up, but you're not ready, and you let the guy that's still in the dugout go, oh, hey, Juan, go ahead, man. I'm not ready. Orale. And then Juan goes up there and it strikes out. Hey, Chuy, hey, ponle, I'm not ready, and you constantly just stay in the on-deck circle. I tell my kids, get out of the on-deck circle and get into the batter's box, man. If you get hit by the pitch, you get a free base. If you strike out, well, chinga, you struck out, you'll get your turn back in. Get out of that on deck circle, bro.
Dude, I love that.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I mean, get into the batter's box, bro. Get into the batter's box and swing the bat.
Swing the bat, man. I love that analogy, man. And already you're like changing my perspective on things or introducing a new perspective, and I love that. Like I said, different definitions to it.
And it's free too.
It's free. It's free. Just subscribe to the podcast.
I'm not even charging you for it, bro. This is good. This is going to be like a therapy session.
Hey, people have said that this is the best kind of therapy, right? Conversations.
There you go. There you
and
go.
It's free.
Man.
Hey, so we talked a little bit before the podcast. You mentioned uh, you don't drink. I did bring a drink on the podcast. Do you mind if I partake?
Yeah, that is time.
All
Yeah.
right. So what we do here on the podcast, we bring new drinks that we've never tried, and this is
Okay.
19 Crimes wine, and it's Martha Stewart Chardonnay. I saw it in a Leche Beezers, and I wanted to try it out. But I want to ask you something. Being a bar owner, have you heard about letting the wine breathe? Because I've heard that plenty of times, and I don't really know what it means. Obviously, I know that open it up and let it breathe, but do you know why?
Well, so my son Patricio. So you've been to Jaime's place, George? Jorge?
Yes, a few times.
Okay. Um, so the guy behind the bar is my son, Patricio, the guy with the big beard.
Uh-huh.
And
Well, behind the bar, because the times I've been,
uh,
I've ordered drinks from a window.
yeah, okay. So, but the guy that I don't know if you've seen the guy with the beard. That's my son, Patricio, and
Okay.
he's the wine. He's the wine because he used to live in Austin and he used to serve. He used to be a server at the JW Marriott, and he knows a lot about wine. But anyway, so I think why do you let it breathe? Shit, bro. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'd have to. I'd like to use a lifeline, Jorge.
Fair enough.
I'd like to call my son Patricio so he can help me out with that answer.
For sure. Go ahead. I mean, here's the beauty thing of this podcast, Jaime. This is what we say. This is too hard, too fast, and we don't check facts. So, so could
What about
you could you could just make up something at this point, and I'll be like, perfect.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't want to spread any misinformation. We got enough of that shit going on with our government.
Ooh, and,
So
and I thought you were gonna say Joe Rogan. I don't know if you're a Joe Rogan fan, but
and I heard about that too. Brother, since I opened up Jaime's place, I dedicate my life to Jaime's place and to the opportunity that is at hand. So just to go back to why the wine breeze, I have no freaking idea, man. I know there's a science to it, probably with fermentation of the grapes, que la chingada, but more scientific than that, I don't know. And frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
exactly. Hey, me either. Look, this is too hard, too fast. We don't check facts. I
Is it
poured it
good?
all in the
Salud.
mason jar. Salud.
Salud.
Muchas gracias for being on.
Of course. And I don't want to call you George.
Don't call me George. I prefer Jorge.
Pues entonces, ¿por qué te presentas como Jorge, como George?
Because la gente de San Antonio que se cree mucho que no habla español.
Oye, que sea la última vez, hermano. Eres Jorge,
Jorge.
And if they ask for clarification, then you make it easy for them. Excuse me? Yes, Jorge, to make it easier. But that's my 2 cents, and forgive me for being so blunt and direct. But anyway.
No, hey,
yeah,
actually, I appreciate it. Everybody, I don't know why it's been a long time, and then really the only time I've ever heard Jorge was when I was in trouble with my mom. So I think maybe that's why I gravitated towards like letting people call me George, because if I heard Jorge, I was getting la chancla.
yeah. The dreaded chancla.
Yeah, for sure. O el pizcazo.
Híjole, man, I hated that shit, man. My 95-year-old mother, and believe you me, I'm her youngest, right? Well, I'm the 6th of 7. I'm the youngest boy. And I'm 50, I'll be 57 in March, and I'm her youngest, right? That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, she busts my chops all the time, man. Yeah. What do you think about that wine?
You know, I'm a fan of 19 Crimes. I'm a really big fan of it. But this Martha Stewart, I've had better Chardonnays.
Yeah.
You know, I and then we usually do like a percent rating scale. So from 1.0 to 2 using decimals. Based, I like the design. It's eye catching. Obviously, her face there. The cork, I really thought the cork was cool. It has her face.
Huh.
Very interesting. Um, Good alcohol level if that's what you're into. 13.8. It's too hard, too
Yeah.
fast. Of course, we like the more percentage, the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So my son Patricio, he knows a lot about wine. Chingos about wine. That's my son Patricio, who used to be a server at the JW in Austin. And you know, they sold all kinds of wines. And then my youngest, Jacob, he's a copywriter for Republic National, which is the distributorship for wines and spirits. You know,
right.
so he gets a lot of wines. You know,
A lot of fancy wines.
yeah, and but because he works for that company, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Um, Me, I'm just the partaker. I am the customer in this end, and so from my rating, I would do this a 1.45, which is a fair rating. It's not high. It's a little bit on the medium scale. It's a fair score. I feel
And what's the highest? A 2.0?
a 2.0 for like like tú sabes.
Yeah. So 1.45. Yeah, man, that's you know.
I will
That's
consider a 1.45 is more like, hey, if you're walking through the store, you're in HEB, you're grabbing your fajitas, and you see the wine there, go ahead and grab it. It's gonna be decent for you.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
if it was like higher end, like 1.68, then you will find the HEB that is selling it, or the specs, or whatever.
You know that there's a lot of psychology and that goes into placement also, right? So you say you're going through HEB and you're looking at the fajitas. If you grab that bottle of wine from the bottom shelf, it's lesser quality. If you got it at eye level, right there, easy to grab, that's probably your better brand because companies pay for shelf placement, so
Right.
yeah, man.
And guess where I found this one? Like what part of the aisle?
Well, if based on your score, because a 2.0 is 100,
Right.
0 is 0, so 1 is 50, and you're doing it at a 1.45, so it's less than 50%. I would say probably slightly below eye level.
Very, very close. So it was below eye level,
Yeah.
but I think the reason it was eye catching was because it was near the checkout aisle. So I was on my way out when I saw it, and obviously her face caught my eye.
Yeah,
and it was right next to and it was right next to Snoop Dogg's wine, and I've had that one before, and it's super good.
Nice.
But it was right next to it, and so I was like, perfect. Let me try it out. Let's see how it goes.
Well, I am thrilled to be part of the episode that is tasting Martha Stewart's wine.
Would you put this kind of wine on your place? Or how does choosing alcohol and beers go at your place, Jaime's place?
Well, so I know nothing, absolutely zero about craft beers, about IPAs, Pilsners. I don't know nothing about that, right? So I leave all of that to my son, Patricio, who knows all of that, right? And the wine selection. the only input that I have is because we get our distributorship as this company, Republic Distributorship, right? I tell them that I don't want to be selling anything that HEB sells, right? Because, I mean, you know, we're in the business of making money, right?
Right.
And because of where we're located, our profit margin is slim. You know, I can't, you know, our beers, you know, you go to the Pearl, you're gonna pay $5 a beer, right? Or $4.50 or $4.25 for Bud Light. You're not gonna pay that here, you know?
Right.
And so it's a threading of a needle, if you will. So, you know, if Jorge goes to HEB and I'm charging him, you know, $20 for a bottle of Martha Stewart Chardonnay, chinga, he goes, man, chinga, I just saw it for $5.99 at damn HEB. You know what I'm saying? So Patricio is all about taste, and from what I hear, we have a very good wine. I mean, it's good wine. We sell some wine. We're mainly a beer drinking bar, but that's how we select it. Patricio selects all the crafts and all the IPAs and pilsners, and then he also selects the wines. And my input on that is that we sell bottles of wine that are not carried by HEB because just it makes better sense, you know.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned, you know, the selection of beer at HEB and, you know, that needle that you're threading, because, you know, I came to college here at Our Lady of the Lake, which is in the west side too. And so I'm very familiar with the west side. You know, my wife is actually from a west sider, so
Nice.
very familiar. So what I know from HEB on the west side, which I've gone to Las Palmas, the one on Commerce, I've gone to El Mercado. El Mercado probably has a bigger, more selection, but let's say the one Commerce where it's near your location.
Sure.
That HEB, puro Budweiser, Bud Light, Miller Light, that's it. You might find a Shiner at best.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's, you know, you got to know who your audience is, right?
Right. But I've gone to your place and you have a variety of beers, different beers, not just your Bud Light, your Budweiser. Of course you have those, but you have a good selection. Of course you're saying your son, you know, is introducing these craft beers. How has those sales? Do those sales do well here on the west side? Because I don't know if you remember the time we spoke, but the time I went to when I met you the first time, and it was a long time ago.
Sure.
There was I had asked about, you know, that most people here on the west side, they just mostly try to drink, you know, the Miller Lights, the Budweisers, things like that. So I was curious how that works with your bar. Like, what do you see going on?
Well, you know, so our tagline, right? Jaime's Place, built for the Barrio. Our T-shirts, I don't know if you know our T-shirts, but it has the zip code 78207 across, you know, which is the zip code we live in. And historically, Jorge, we are in the most underserved part of the city, has been for decades, right? Decades upon decades upon decades. So, you know, and there's not really any established, we're not like the Pearl where you have the Pearl and multiple businesses within the Pearl, but walk a little bit to Broadway, right? And then you have all that development along Broadway, right? Southtown is the same way. You've got all that development over there and business upon business upon business that young people like yourself love going to because you're able to frequent multiple establishments within that one trip. The East Side is having that as well. Well, the West Side, you know, we're the last boy, the last girl asked to the dance, right? You know, that dreaded G word is making its way over the bridge, you know, gentrification, you know, and, you know, for whatever your thoughts are on that, that's a whole nother subject, and that's a whole nother episode, right? But you know, my jefita and my jefito, right? My dad passed away in 2004. Over the years, we accumulated all these properties here on this block, and you know, it used to be a mechanic shop, Jaime's Place. And then, you know, my eldest brother and sister, who are both in their 70s, mid 70s, mind you, right? They retired. The business, the building was kind of falling into disrepair. I asked my mom back then, 12 years ago, my mom, "Me das chance?" She goes, "Yes." So I started cleaning up, created Jaime's Place. This is kind of what it evolved to. And you know, there's construction taking place in front of Jaime's Place right now. And that's part of the 2017 bond, which basically, Jorge, is going to connect the western edge of downtown to the inner west side. From the Alazan Creek to downtown, they're giving us new drainage, sewer, water, gas, sidewalks, postas, luz, you know, underneath the bridge. They're going to make it really, really nice. The bridge, they're going to put new LED lights. Champion, man, they're going to connect us right to downtown. But you know, we're 2 to 3 years ahead of schedule, meaning Jaime's Place, right? Porque there's not much other development over here for people to make their way over the bridge. If you're coming over the bridge, you're either going to Jaime's Place, and that's about it, or going home.
Yeah. Right.
So when I came up with the tagline, Jaime's Place, 78207, built first and foremost for the barrio, right? Because the community has never really had, you know, there's, you know, if you're from the West Side, you've kind of been stigmatized. You know, oh, you're from that? Oh, shit, man. Go, you know, don't go there past dark. You know, it's got a bad rap, you know? So,
you only eat at Danny's, not at Roy's.
yeah, you know, whatever, right? I mean, so built for the barrio, first and foremost. I built it for the barrio and beyond. Later on, the beyond will come. So really, your question about craft beers, you know, on Thursdays, we have $3 draft beers, pints. That's cheap. We have electric jellyfish. We have weathered souls. We got some damn good beers, you know, on tap. Allstat beer from Fredericksburg, Texas. So more and more people are finding out about Jaime's Place. So the craft beers are selling, but again, we're 95% outdoors, and right now it's cold, bro. And us Mexicanos, we don't like the cold too much.
No, but you got those heaters. And here's what I'm gonna say. I think I should tell you my story before we go any further. When my very first Jaime experience, because it was an experience for sure. And I say that as a compliment. Like, I'm a big fan of experiences, and if I didn't have that experience when I went to the first time, I wouldn't have gone back. So when I first went to Jaime's Place was, I feel like, one of the first few times, or the early times, when we were allowed back out.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dogs are going a little crazy. So it was one of the few times or the early times when we were allowed out from the shutdown.
Right.
And you know, I was still very hesitant. I was like, I'm not going out, not going anywhere. And my friend was visiting from New York, I believe he was living at the time. He came over, and I was like, dude, this is a new place. And he came to college with me here on the west side. So I was like, you won't believe, like, we know the bars around the west side. Like, we usually don't go to them. You know, I don't want to talk down about anybody, but
Right.
Usually it's not. It's usually just locals like
Yeah.
la gente, you know.
Right.
And so it's like, dude, they just opened this Jaime's place, and it looks freaking cool from outside. I haven't been, but I've been wanting to try it out. And they got music sometimes, and I like every time I pass by there, I want to try it out. He's like, since you're here, you want to try? He goes, let's go. And so, boom, we went. It was me and
Nice.
him just hanging out. Estaba frío. It was cold.
Yeah.
It was cold,
Yeah.
man. And you had we tried to sit by the heaters, and man, we had a good time. I think we also ate wings there. But
Yeah.
by the time we ordered them, we were a little bit buzzies. And that's when I saw you, and that's when I first met you. And like I say, it's a long time. So I saw you going to almost every table, talking to everybody, picking up drinks. And I don't know who mentioned it, but it was like, hey, that's Jaime. That's the one that owns the bar. I'm like, dude, and he's picking up drinks. Like that's badass. Like that, he really cares about his place. Hold on. And at that time, my friend was like, dude, it would be cool to have him on the podcast. Bringing up people that are, la gente, like raza.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I
Yeah.
care about 100%. We met up, you came and talked to us, you were super gracious, you gave me your number, and obviously, this is 2022, and this was when I met you, it was 2020, and imagine, man, I thought I lost your number, and I somehow found it.
Yeah.
And like, I'm gonna see if he still is down, and I'm gonna be like a super creeper and be like, hey, remember me?
Yeah. No, man. It's people are freaked out about me busting tables, and my dad again, I was raised in a restaurant. My dad was era chingón, mi jefito, but we had a restaurant down the street called Las Brisas. So you went to Our Lady of the Lake, Siete Mares?
Siete Manos, yes.
We used to own that building. It used to be called Pancho's Grill before it was Siete Mares. My dad sold the building to the Siete Mares people back in the day. So, people freak out that I'm a busboy, or that's all I want to do, bro. I just want to be out there. I don't want to be behind the fucking bar. Excuse my language. I don't want to be behind the
you
bar
can cuss here.
serving drinks. I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it. But I want to be out there, busting tables, con la gente, it's no big deal for me to buzz tables. I don't see it as anything special, but people seem to think that that's a cool deal, that the owner's busting tables.
Yeah, I mean, you see it, but you don't see it a lot, and I think that's why I was like, yeah, like that's cool, man.
Well, plus I don't want you to see all the beers you're drinking, so I'll take them away so it'll look like you just got there.
Yeah, so you forget. Man, I had a great time.
If you see 10 empty beer bottles on your table, you go say, "A la madre, I better stop." No, fuck that. No, the heck with that, man. I'm going to take them away and only have one there. Oh, chinga, apenas es la primera.
That's funny. And Jaime, don't hold back. You can fucking cuss on this podcast.
Okay.
It's up to you. Feel free.
I do have a tendency to throw the F-bomb sometimes, Makes me feel better.
Hey, it makes me, it gets that point across.
Yes, it does.
But so let's go back. That 2020, you opened it during the pandemic, during almost right around the shutdown. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? What the hell was going on?
It was crazy times, and so prior to me doing Jaime's Place, I bought and sold cars, and I was going down to the Rio Grande Valley once a week, probably for about 10 years, man. Era una friega, man, chinga, bro. Driving every week to the valley to buy cars. I talked to my wife of 31 years, and I said, you know what, mija, I said, you know, at this rate, I'm never going to open up Jaime's Place, right? So we crunched some numbers, and she goes, okay, well, do it, you know, 100% of the time.
Was it
So,
your dream to always have a bar? Was that like your?
no, not at all. You know, it's really about the opportunity, you know, to open up a business. You got to see what the needs of the community are, right? You got to see what's happening around you. And, you know, so being here at these properties on Commerce Street, so close to downtown, I knew that this construction that is taking place right now in front of us, that had been planned, you know, almost 10 years ago. It was part of the 2017 bond. But before 2017 bond, it had already been making its way to get on the bond, right? So I knew that what they were proposing, I knew that the new president of UTSA, Dr. Amy, that these 3 new buildings were going to be going up for UTSA. I knew that Dr. Amy wanted to increase enrollment from 5,000 to 15,000. I knew that that dreaded G word was going to the tentacles were going to start reaching over the bridges, right? The West Commerce, the Buena Vista and Guadalupe Bridge, that gentrification was going to rear its ugly head into the Barrio. So, you know, I'm not a mechanic, and I didn't want to work on damn cars. You know,
Yep.
My plan wasn't to activate the kitchen, but because the pandemic, the only way I was going to be able to open up is if I got a food and beverage license, because that's what Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, TABC, said, Jaime, if you want to open up, you need to serve food so that you can be labeled a restaurant, right? So, but ni modo, man. I got a food and beverage license. I did hot dogs. I did Frito pies. I still do those. Wings, quesadillas, nachos, and boom, you know. So the reason, it was crazy. I was $800 from running out of money, man. I was running out of money quick, man. I was gonna run out of money before even opening up. Thank God for opening weekend, because we had a hell of a opening weekend, you know, and helped me put a
Puro
little bit of
pinche party.
puro pinche party. You know, and the community has really bought into to Jaime's Place. It's a nice place, man. It's something that you would feel comfortable bringing your wife to, you know, and we're kid friendly, bro. So, I mean, you know, and what I hear about from the community is that, because, hey, we used to go to, my mom and dad used to take me to Contreras Ice House up the street, or to Roy's Ice House, or to Stanley's, or to all these ice houses that dotted the west side. You know, the community was used to, back then, their parents took them to the ice houses, right? And now, you know, why not let kids come here? You know, the Northsiders do it, you know, with all these hamburger joints, you know. It's puro pinche party anyway, and the kids get to run around and stuff, you know. So that's kind of the model we followed, you know.
Yeah, and really is. You know, hey, you drive by there on a Saturday, maybe early Thursday. You see like the cool West Side, not West Side cars, but like the lowriders almost. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so we have car shows here sometimes, and you know, it's good. I mean, the community's really bought in.
I like that. I mean, like I said, I had a great time there. It's been a really good place to head out to. And you were running out of money. I can't believe that, because, well, I mean, like, I've heard or read where a bar, it's mostly just losing money for the first 3 years. But then again, any business is losing money for the first 3 years until either you make it or break it. I think that's what they say. The 3-year mark is the make it or break it. I don't know. What do you feel like on that end for your place, Jaime's Place?
Man, so, being a small business owner, you wear multiple hats. I don't have the luxury of having uh, uh, accountants on staff, bookkeepers on staff, restaurant analytics. Man, I do it all. I I I do payroll. I do ordering. I do my own bookkeeping. I bus tables. I run food. I sometimes serve drinks. I mean, we wear multiple hats, so we're very resilient. So, you know, the 3-year mark, I hope so, man. I just started year two. We're going through a slow part of the season. I'm hoping for warmer weather. Of course, it ain't going to happen this week. It's going to be pretty damn slow. So, ni modo, man. Tighten the faja, and
Yeah.
cut expenses and just tighten up the belt, Jorge, and get more time under our belt, giving more people the opportunity to visit Jaime's place and to have a wonderful experience, right? Come visit the West Side, come visit what Jaime's place is all about. And I encourage people to visit our website and to visit our mission, to read our mission statement, to read our ethos, and to know what we're about and preserving the cultura of this working class community, this community that has been left to fend for itself for so long, and that's what Jaime's Place is all about, is resiliency and perseverance and being welcoming to everyone, like our ancestors taught us.
And I don't want to keep you too long. We're getting close to our time, but I have a few questions. And now that you mentioned, keeping our cultura or keeping our culture, and we mentioned that dreaded G word, gentrification. How do you see yourself keeping the culture of the West Side? Because the West Side is it's its own animal from San Antonio, and I'm sure you know that more than I do because I'm a transplant to the West Side.
Right.
How would Jaime's Place keep that culture while you see that UTSA and the rest of downtown is making its way across that Commerce Bridge?
Well, so I don't know if you've ever been to San Diego, California, but in San Diego, there is a area of San Diego called Barrio Logan, right? And Barrio Logan was once a blighted community and kind of very similar to what the West Side is right now. And Barrio Logan has transformed itself with the help of some really solid community leaders into a cultural destination, right? So I believe that the West Side of San Antonio has an opportunity to brand itself as a cultural destination, right? You have the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Theater. You have Sananto Cultural Arts Nonprofit Organization. You see all these murals along the walls of all around the West Side, which was painted and processed by Sananto Cultural Arts. You have SAC. You have the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center. You have El Museo del West Side. You have El Rinconcito. You have all these different organizations, cultural destinations, or arts and culture here in the West Side. So I think we have an opportunity to attract that new type of tourist, right? Because there's that new tourist, the younger tourists. They want to go visit where the locals go, right? And I believe that with my involvement in the community and local politics here in the area, if we're able to brand the Inner West Side as San Antonio's cultural heartbeat, and stay true to our Tejano roots. You know, mis papás son de Mexico, you know, but I'm not trying to go back to live in Mexico, right? I love Mexico. Yo soy pura sangre mexicana, right? You know, born in USA, pero hecho con de puros mexicanos, right?
I'm right,
And
100%.
that's who I am. You know, I'm 100% Mexican blood, born in the United States of America, and this is my home. I don't want to go back. So I wanna showcase the contributions that the Tejanos have made to this wonderful fabric, right? And I want to showcase that we're not immigrants. We've been here.
We've
You
been
know?
here, baby.
Yeah, the border crossed us. You know, now my parents, they migrated. They didn't immigrate. They just left. You know, less than 300 miles away, bro. They just came pal norte. They didn't go across the Atlantic or the Pacific. You know, those are the real immigrants. We just kind of just wandered over here, you know?
Yeah.
We migrated, you know? You know, I just want to showcase the very many talents of the Tejanas and the Tejanos here in especially in the West Side, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, just piggybacking on what you're saying, I've said this many times on the podcast. I was born in Mexico, but I've been Texan raised, and here in the U.S. is where I want to be. So I'm proud of both, man. I'm proud that I'm from Mexico, but I'm proud that I get the opportunity to live here in the U.S. So I'm proud of both. I don't want to lose my culture. I don't want to lose the West Side either. You know, like that's part of me, regardless if I'm just a transplant here. It's part of me. But
You know what?
I see it now.
You're not asking for this advice or this my opinion, but be careful, Jorge, because the minute that you begin to normalize being called George, you know, that you begin to fray, F-R-A-Y, la cobija begins to come apart, the fray. It begins to disconnect. You know, you're not, you know, I'm not Jaime. Fuck that. They try to say, hey, welcome to Jaime's place. What the fuck is that? You know? What the
That
fuck
was
is
gonna
that?
be
No,
one of my questions.
no,
Like, hey,
no.
when that pinche downtown comes over and they're like, we're going to Jaime's.
Come on, bro. You know, now, and I understand that my Caucasian brethren might have a hard time saying Jaime. You know, I'm okay with Jaime, but just not Jamie, right? You know, it's. I mean, you know,
It's
small,
crazy.
but be careful because te chingan. No te chingan de un chingazo. Little by little, they start chipping away, bro, and they take away little by little. Te quitan la cultura, and one of those ways is by George being okay being called George. He's starting to identify as George. You know?
Yeah, you know what? I've gone on to the on this, and I'll say it again. This podcast, it's given me a lot of perspective and a lot of things that I myself have given up or made mistakes in. With the fact, like, you know, I've said this before. I came across some discrimination, especially for my accent. And what you hear now, like when I'm talking, my voice, it's so weird because I've tried to lose that Mexican accent.
You are
And-
who
and
you
I'll-
are, bro.
No, right, and usually people that listen to this podcast, they'll know the more of this, the more the Mexican accent comes out. The more tired I am, the more it comes out. But you know, I recognize it. I lost my true Mexican accent a long time ago, and now it's just like whatever is left and whatever is mixed into whatever I tried to do, and that's one of the biggest. I say I don't have regrets, but that's one of the biggest shames I have that I tried to do that.
Well, but that's okay. At least you recognized it. You recognize it, and you're going to correct it. Last night I stayed at my mom's house last night, and because we're caring for an elderly parent, I was watching PBS, and it was man, it brought me to tears about the struggle that our gente from Centro America and from Mexico have to endure coming over, and a lot of these people in Brooks County, which is just south of us, over 2,000 people have died from dehydration. And this one girl who grew up in, I think, McAllen, she got her PhD from, I think, the University of Houston, but she had to take all her courses online because of the interior checkpoint. Like you from Piedras, right? Or from what is the border town to where you're at?
Eagle Pass.
But what is it? It's Piedras, right?
Oh yeah. That's where I was born, Piedras Negras.
So Piedras Negras, right? I used to go to Modernos all the time to eat when I lived down there. But anyway, you have that interior checkpoint, right? Where cruzas. Let's just suppose that a undocumented makes their way to Eagle Pass. Well, for your entire life, that undocumented person can live between Eagle Pass and that interior checkpoint, right? Which is further up the road, right? So this girl who got her PhD, she talks about, and this program talks about how the U.S. government has this buffer zone all along the southern border of interior checkpoints that keep those that cross from further crossing because of that interior checkpoint, right? So, I guess we were talking about the anyway. It was a fascinating story, and if you're able to look it up, it was on an independent lens. It was a beautiful story about our people trying to make a better life for themselves. Really, right?
Just trying to make it any way they can, pretty much.
Yeah, that's pretty much how the Irish did it, and everybody else from the other side, the British, people from England, when they came over, they're just looking for a better life.
Yeah. You know what? Now that we're here, and I like I said, I trying to keep to our time, but I think this conversation is so interesting because I've had it multiple times, but never with somebody like you right now. Like you've experienced life more than I have because our age difference. But one thing que me cae mal, like it pisses me off, is that I'm recognizing my faults for what I thought I was going through and what I needed to do, and changing things. But the thing that gets me most is how we pull ourselves down or we stay silent.
Maybe so one of my T-shirts, I don't know if you remember, it's the Tío Sam. Maybe you can see it. I have you see that right there? That Tío Sam?
Yeah.
That's taken from the U.S. Army. Used to have a Uncle Sam that said, pointing like that, "I want you, right, to join the army," right? I have Emiliano Zapata dressed as Uncle Sam with that Mexican sash across his
El
chest.
bigotón.
You see that? Huh?
Yes, sir. El bigotón.
El bigotón, right? and in the back of that T-shirt, in the back of my T-shirt, it says "Unbow your head." So you talk about a lot of us were silent. Sometimes we're overly subservient. We're overly subservient. And that's just I mean, that's just the way we've been marginalized, you know, but no más, bro, no más. You know, the marginalization stops today when Jorge stops calling himself George and he starts reclaiming his roots and he says Jorge, right? Yeah, I'm
Jorge.
Jorge. You know,
Pinche Jorge.
no, that's a way of reclaiming your true identity.
You're right, man. You're right. 100% right. For sure.
So, I mean, you know, do we stay silent? Sometimes we have to remain silent because we're undocumented. Sometimes we have to remain silent because, you know, we need that job. El pinche mayordomo me va a correr si le digo que se vaya a chingar a su madre, you know? You know,
Yeah.
so, you know, yeah, I mean, you can't blame somebody for being silent, but, you know, but that person will send their kids to college and to get educated so that they don't have to remain silent like maybe their parents had to.
Right. What about I don't know if you experienced that, but you know, a lot of people that I grew up with experienced that. So I felt like it was a big thing in our culture was to bring ourselves down, and not intentionally. I guess it does go with don't make waves kind of thing, but or pick something realistic like nah, ¿qué te crees? You know, kind of thing. That idea of ¿qué te crees? You think, no, hombre, do something better or do something that is realistic. Have you experienced that?
You know, you know, I didn't know how in the hell I was gonna make a living. I didn't know how in the hell I was gonna be able to achieve that American dream of buying a house because I didn't go to college, man. You know, it wasn't for me. But I found cars. I sold cars for many, many, many years, and gracias a Dios, I was good at it, and it allowed me to buy a home and to raise 4 beautiful kids. And you know, I was raised by by parents from Mexico, right? And you know, we're hard workers. My dad was a hard worker, and he instilled that in me, and I try to instill that in my kids, right? Go get it. And you know, I have hardworking kids. You know, if you're gonna be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper, right? And live within your means.
Right.
You know, that's the bottom line. If you make $100,000, Jorge, but your total yearly income expenses 101,000, guess what? You're broke. You're scratching a broke ass. If you're making $100,000, but your total expenses is $101,000, you're broke, man. At the end of the year, you're scratching a broke ass. But yet, that one person that makes $30,000 and his yearly income, his yearly expenses say $15,000, $16,000, he's got money left over. You know, so you know, it's a matter of living within your means, and I tell all my kids, get yourself a side hustle. You know, don't be conformed with 8 to 5. I've never been an 8 to 5 guy. I'd go crazy if I was 8 to 5. You know, what time is it?
Shoot, it's 7:40 right now.
And I'm still at the office. You know, there's no place I'd rather be than here on Commerce Street, because I have a wonderful opportunity to participate in the resurrection of the West Side, right? And rebrand the West Side and not let unbridled development just erase the decades upon decades upon decades. This past weekend, we had the head coach of Lanier High School, of the football team, who is a graduate of Lanier High School. And you know what he said? He was having his celebration, he wanted to celebrate him getting the head coach position of the football coach at Lanier in the comunidad, and he chose Jaime's place. He se vino toda la pinche garra. You know, that's what they call Lanier. I mean, there was over 100 Lanier alumni here, and let me tell you something, bro. Lanier Volks alumni, phew, man, they're strong, bro, and they've got chingo de pride. And I was honored to host them. I was, man, because they're all about community, and I'm grateful that they picked Jaime's Place, because that's why I built this motherfucker, right? Built for the Barrio and beyond.
Dude, okra. Dude, Jaime's Place. Jaime, not just a bar owner, an intellectual, 100%. Wisdom beyond. Dude, keeping the fucking heartbeat of El Hueso in the West Side.
I mean, West Commerce was one of those major arteries, right? That went right through the city. And if you look up the definition of commerce, it's where money is exchanged, right? So we're bringing commerce back to West Commerce, and we're dándole para adelante, and we're welcoming everybody, and we're just giving a little facelift to the West Side here at Jaime's Place.
And what is it? Commerce and the corner of Colorado?
Yes, sir. Commerce in Colorado.
Commerce in Colorado. Where can people find more information?
So follow us on Facebook. I think it's Jaime's Place, SATX. And Instagram is at Jaime's Place. And our website is www. Nobody says www anymore, right? Hey, don't
Probably not. The beauty thing, I'll put it right here.
Yeah, it's jaimesplace.pub, P-U-B.
Oh, pub. Pub.
Yeah, pub.
Pub.
Not
Place.
not as in pubic, as in public.
That's in public. It's Jaime's Place, everybody. Not Jamie's Place. It's Jaime's Place. In the heart of San Antonio, El West Side. Jaime, I would love to have you back on. I feel like you have so much to share that we can talk about forever. History of San Antonio, the history of the West Side. Dude, we can talk beers. You're not a drinker, but we can talk anything, and I would love to have you back on.
Well, yes, sir. And I've got enough stories to tell you, drunken stories to tell you also. So it don't matter, man. I've been there, done that.
Well, we're getting to that. I'm going to ask you your too hard, too fast story, but also I want to say I need to go to Jaime's Place, and I need to get me that t-shirt right behind you, the one with the El Bigoton and the 78207, because I'm going to rep that forever.
Come on.
I'm a 07er.
There you go. Yes. You don't have to live with no 7 to support. So that's the onda.
For sure. So last question. What is your too hard, too fast story? A drunken moment where you've gone too hard, too fast, an embarrassing moment, or a cautionary tale, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
It's been a while since I drank. So, I don't really remember too much anymore, other than I finally realized that, it was time to hang up the gloves, man, and what I felt was, again, for me, I just quit. That was just it. I just had enough, and I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. That's what it is. Was it hard?
Nah.
No. Perfect. No temptation around the bar?
You make a decision, right? You make a decision on a daily basis, and you realize that it can get complicated. It can get complicated, and there's nothing wrong with drinking, but
Right.
for Jaime, you know, I just realized that I could reach my full potential. Because, dude, I'm too hard, too fast, 24-fucking-7, dog. You know, I am. Ask my wife, ask my kids. That's what I live by.
That's
Before
right.
Too Hard, Too Fast podcast happened, I was living it.
You
was
were
living
too
it.
hard.
And I still live it every fucking day. I just don't drink no more, you know?
Yeah.
And now I get to, you know, yeah, I got energy to lend, bro.
And you have to say no more because I understand you. You're probably up super early. You're still at your workplace past almost 8 o'clock. So that's going too hard, too fast without having the extra added to it.
You know, I used to wake up really early all the time, but since I opened up Jaime's Place, let me tell you, man, it's una chinga, bro. It's chinga. And, you know, sometimes, you know, when we're busy and we close at 1 o'clock on Saturdays, by the time we get home, it's 2 o'clock. And then you go home, te bañas. And me and Tony, we're tight, right? Tony the Tiger. You know, I love my Frosted Flakes. You know, I got to get me a little bowl of Frosted Flakes. By the time I get to bed, 3:45, you know, I don't roll out of bed sometimes till 9 o'clock. You know, to me, super early is 6, right? And I used to get up at 6:30, but not anymore.
Not anymore. Hey, but you're going home. You're going to bed later. So practically, you're making up the time. So
Yeah, you're right.
It makes
Just
sense.
getting a little bit of sleep.
yeah, sleep in.
literally.
Hey, I appreciate this time. I appreciate your wisdom and your stories. And with that said, remember, dare to be you, dare to be weird. Bye.
Está loco.